In this video, we're going to be talking about how you can get started as a digital marketing uh, beginner. And if you've never done digital marketing before, this is the way to really get started and start to essentially build the skill set necessary to succeed and kick it out of the way and just have a thriving career in this field. So I have a quick presentation prepared, which I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get right into. Let's not waste any time here. So first thing that you should know when it comes to this type of career path is it's usually not enough to just say, yeah, I've dabbled a little bit with Instagram or YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, but it's got like 2 videos and I've spent 9 months on it and I've gotten 17 views. Just dabbling in things that you enjoy is not the same as actually doing the work. I mean, you would think that's obvious, but it's interesting how many applicants um, I've seen because I've been on both sides of the hiring table, and they take 4 years for a degree in marketing, and then the main thing they highlight in the resume is, yeah, I've dabbled a little bit. I have an Instagram account. You need something more than that. That's not to say that Instagram or YouTube is not important, but it's much better to show actual metrics that are tangible. Like I built this company's Instagram account from 2,000 followers to 15,000, and it drove 500 more sales per month. And to be able to show that and prove that, than just to say you've played around with a platform. They're not the same thing. So, put another way, real world experience is valued. And you really have to be able to obtain it. Do you get a slight edge if you have a marketing degree? Sure. But is it the same thing as, you know, going out into the field and doing it? It is not the same thing. Now, I do want to cover a common thing that's often brought up, which is this paradox of experience. Everyone mentions this. I've mentioned this myself. How do you get experience when you don't have experience, and yet all the jobs are looking for people with experience? It's like the chicken or egg problem. It's like a paradox. Like, how does someone who's transitioning to this career or is just starting out, how do they actually get experience if they're just starting out? And yet all these job postings seem to say they need experience. This is one of those funny paradoxes of the career world, and I'll break down how you can fix this. But let's just cover very quickly why this happens. And it's because these companies, they get a lot of applicants, and if they can have their cake and eat it too, they'd rather have an applicant where they have some legit experience, some legit skills, versus, like I said the examples of people who are just dabbling with the skill and saying, yeah, I play around with Instagram. Those types of people don't you're literally paying them for a job. So you want someone who's reliable. And with the supply and demand of how many applicants there are and the supply of jobs, they have that ability to kind of govern a little bit of a harsher criteria, which makes sense from the employer standpoint. Like they want someone with actual skills who can actually operate and run something like a Google Ads platform or a Facebook ads platform or do SEO versus someone who is just to put it in plain English, BSing and pretending that they have these skills when they don't, and just out of school. So then how do you actually get that real world experience? We're going to cover that in detail in this presentation. But the essential point is you have to get it somehow. You have to get some of those skills. Some of it you can learn yourself and apply it. Keyword is apply it. You can't just be reading a bunch of articles online and keep it in your head. It's best to build some real tangible results, some real tangible products, websites, and then showcase that in a portfolio. But there are other paths that involve actually working for other businesses to get that experience. So let's go ahead and explore that pathway. One last uh, tip before we dive in here is theory is not as valuable as practice. As I mentioned, you can't just sit there, listen to a few courses, watch a bunch of YouTube videos, read a few articles on how to do SEO or how to run a Facebook ad, and then never actually open up Facebook Ads Manager and run an ad, and then claim on your resume, yeah, I'm a seasoned Facebook Ads Manager. They're going to be able to sniff that out. And there's a lot of things that are said in theory, but until you're actually in there, it's not the same thing. Now don't be discouraged. You might start to get this bit discouraged. You might be like, oh my gosh, I really don't have much experience. I don't even have a marketing degree. And yeah, I have an Instagram account, but that's for personal use. How do I even get into this field? It's really not as difficult as it may seem to some, and it's not going to be as easy as it seems to others. So it's in that in between. And I am a great example of this. I did not have a marketing degree. In fact, I got a degree in science. And I had a strong passion for digital marketing. At the time, I didn't even know there were jobs for it. I didn't think it was possible. Keep in mind, this was like 10 years ago. So there really wasn't much on the market then. And I essentially built a lot of websites. I built a lot of things for fun. I had a blog. I had a YouTube channels. I built those to, I built a blog to millions of views. And then I built some YouTube channels to um, tens of thousands of views. And those were the ways I got my foot in the door, because through this passion, I was able to learn SEO and all this other stuff and prove it. And you might be like, oh, geez, I don't think I can build a million visit blog. You don't have to. I've seen plenty of people who have got their foot in the door just by, helping a hockey company, for example, go from thousands of views to a few more thousand views. So it's not like you need millions of views. So let's dive in here. Freelancing is clearly one path. The pros to this is you do one-off gigs, so you don't have to sell them on a full-time employership. And you also have flexible hours because of those freelancing things. There's dozens of established platforms on the market. Some of the big ones include Fiverr and Upwork, and through just a few gigs, especially if you get some good gigs, that's enough to pad your portfolio or your resume with real world experience. Or at the least, you're getting the ability and opportunity to build your skill set, so that if your first few gigs really didn't produce tremendous results for your clients, you can build your skill set so that your next gigs can. And sometimes, really, some employers are more lax than others. They don't necessarily need a year of experience and all this other stuff. They just say that on their job listing, but what they're really looking for is someone who, if they can hire, are a very sharp person, very smart, and can learn and pick up those skills quickly. And when they start paying them a full-time salary, they will in quick order be able to run these ads or um, do SEO for that agency or for that company or whatever else is needed. Sometimes it's just managing social media. Be able to pick that skill up and do it quickly. Experience is often a solid proxy for someone able to do that, which is why they put experience on the resume. So you don't necessarily have to do freelancing for a year, but if you can pick out some clear storytelling, as I mentioned, is another key way that you can uh, really convey your effectiveness when you're applying to jobs. But these are ways of crafting a compelling application through a good story and some good gigs where you really deliver some results for clients. So freelancing, obviously a way you can get started, and some of them get so successful with this and they love the flexibility of it versus a 9 to 5 work-life balance, that some just decide to stick with freelancing rather than even get a digital marketing job because they become a very skilled digital marketing freelancer. There's other pros and cons. I'm not going to belabor the point, but just to list a couple more. Freelancing, in a way, some argue you get more income because when you work for an agency, which is the route I took, the agency gets a huge cut of the profits. Whereas with a freelancer, you're getting a direct contract with the employer and getting a larger chunk of the work that you would do through an agency. So there is more income potential, but once again, you're still tied dollars for hours based off the time you invest. And you might be like, okay, who's going to even hire me if I don't have experience in the first place? You'd be surprised, especially on beginner platforms like Fiverr, where the cost for a gig is very low. That affordability leads it open to people giving you a chance more. I was able to do this with my copywriting freelance hustle that I did a few years back, where I had no copywriting experience yet, but I read a bunch of copywriting books. I read some articles online. I really studied a lot of what the gurus said online. And then I started a gig on Fiverr as a copywriter, and people really took a chance on me because I was offering a lower price than the competitors. And then I started to get some 5-star ratings, and that snowballed from there. Okay, so what if that doesn't work, or what if you want to try something else? Another is to build your own projects and websites and experience or skill sets. So first off, you want to tailor what experience or projects you need to the what's on the job postings. And it differs depending on the employer. So some employers are really looking for a social media manager. That might be one where you're really trying to just build followers. You're not trying to make money or dollars. But there's other employers and job listings, and this is much more common. They're looking for people who can turn those visitors into dollars. That's a bit harder to build experience for. Um, but there's still ways. I've even spent some of my own money back when I didn't have much on the Facebook Business Ads Manager platform just to experiment and run real dollars through a platform and get familiar with how to use this platform so that I could speak better to it during job interviews. So there's different paths for doing it, but there's plenty of people who have gotten their foot in the door through DIY projects. Let's say they built a TikTok account or Instagram account or YouTube account to 10,000 followers or 1,000 followers. Or if you don't want to build your own, or you don't have a brand, or you don't want to create one, I recommend you do because it's valuable. But if you don't want to do that route, some people I know, former coworkers, others I've heard about, they simply would pitch, volunteer, intern, or work for other companies. It could be your local hockey company. Your local, if you really like hockey, you could do like a hockey apparel company, or local roofing company. A bunch of these small businesses don't have a marketing budget, or at least not a big one, and through that, they are more open to you coming in and providing free work or discounted work to help build their social media following, create content for them. And um, you usually have to take the initiative of capturing the numbers beforehand because sometimes they won't tell you to. But you want to do this so that you can say on your job application later, hey, I helped this hockey brand go from 1,700 followers to 3,649, and it drove 100 more visits to the site every month, which led to 10 more sales. However much you can get to the dollars, great. Sometimes you can't, and you just have to stop with the follower growth. Dude, it's still tangible numbers. These businesses and agencies you apply for, they love numbers, they love data, they love return on investment. So anything you can do that speaks to traffic or followers, really valuable. But as I mentioned, um, tailor it to the job listings. Some people care more about social media followings, but typically they care more about things like being able to run an ad platform or do SEO on a site to increase the traffic. So really identify what type of jobs you want first, what you want to apply for, look at those job postings, and then you can kind of reverse engineer what projects you need to build to add to your resume and portfolio. So really check it out. I think you can do it. Another method is the entry-level job or internship. Now, these are methods that obviously are kind of what you're aiming for, probably why you started to watch this video. However, there's other ways other than aiming immediately for that full-time job salary position. At my first agency I worked for, which I worked for 5 years, they had an internship program, as do many agencies. And in this internship program, you are paid as well. Really, at my agency at least, though they paid a very fair uh, hourly rate to these interns, way above minimum wage. And along the way, these interns were mostly trained. It was more of like a take your child to work day type of situation than where they're actually doing work. Now, they were doing work as well, but we often gave them the very simple tasks. And then half the time we were training them on how to do these tasks. So you're literally being paid to learn how to do the work and then set up to get the job. Now, I think a lot of these interns expected the job or really wanted the job afterwards, but if they weren't really cut out or really showing that they were succeeding in the internship, we wouldn't give it to them. But we would give a lot of our interns full-time job offers afterwards. That's one of the biggest pulls that we offer jobs to. I would say at that previous company, roughly like 30 to 40% of interns were hired afterwards. Huge rate. So if you can find these entry-level internships at these agencies, super huge opportunity. If not an agency, at an in-house company. There's plenty of ways to find these types of positions. And so that's another way of getting experience. Even if you don't get the job afterwards, don't get sad. That's a contact that you can keep coming to later once you develop more skills to get the job later. Now you have a warm lead. You're in, they know you in person. But also, you can use what you learned at the internship for other offers, other jobs. In fact, some of the interns, funny enough, this is funny, they didn't get the job at our agency. You check their LinkedIn like a year later, and they went to our local competitors' agencies to work there because these local competitors were like, "Oh, you got an internship at our competitor's place. Tell us all the secrets of how they do things." I don't know if that's fully the case because I wasn't part of those conversations. I just saw that they joined on LinkedIn, but that's what I assume likely happened. Once again, not conclusive, but it's another way of doing it. Some entry-level jobs are going to be easier to get into, but may not be where you want to be forever. And that's okay. I think that if you have had trouble finding work for months, better to take a stepping stone job that will get you the skills to get you to the next job than to just remain unemployed. So those are the tips. I wanted to keep this concise because I know attention spans are short on this platform. And those are some of the ways where you can really get started and really develop your skill sets. There's different paths. Those are the big paths you can take to really develop your skills. And you may be like, well, what about this? What if you worked for a YouTuber or you worked for an influencer? Those nuances, those use cases are covered in some of these other ones. I would consider that partially entry-level job or partially freelancing, depending on how that YouTuber hires you. So there's various paths, but these are the big buckets that you can take to get to that level. So subscribe for more tips on how to get into this field, and link below to my email newsletter where you get more exclusive, never before heard tips on really getting into that career path, as well as freebies like free coaching calls. I do this on a recurring basis where there's no pitch, no upsell, nothing. It's just complete value for the entire duration of the call, help you get to your dream job. So thanks for watching, like, and sub. See you later.